heavy rice. And the cultivation should be along the slope, channel out excess water for
can you show the map, please? Yeah. So any comment, please? Thank you very much. Dogaraku. Comment?
Sometimes it's possible to see that no existing or previous work.
Very.
You can't be too sure. I don't know the amount of the picture that you give. I'm so definite that no such work can be done at that time. And we have to cast it in a way that can be scientific. I don't know how you produce the map. How did you produce the map?
Okay, sir. It is not yes.
Good. They really say that. You will have a professor of the informatics. But the only way you can make a map like this is through application of GIS. If I'm not doing GIS software, add this, or it was done for you.
Yeah, in fact, it was done for me.
It doesn't matter. You're
Okay, I think the magnitude of the ambiguity of your statement to say that there is no research is the fact that the entire, with little portion around the Niger Delta, every location in Nigeria has been mapped, courtesy of the land resource units in the early 40s and 60s. And you have a lot of data on that. Even though they are at landscape level, the details is not too detailed, but that should be a reference point to say that I'm updating that, for example. So you can't say there's no existing map, no existing studies on that. Is that clear? Yeah. And then in some of your recommendations, I think we need to look into recommendations that are feasible. Because we are not looking at plot level. We are looking at landscape level. So if you are looking at landscape level, you want to see products that can be produced at scale. Okay? Products that can be produced at scale. You can't imagine saying that half of Kano should be covered using manure. It's not visible. Or you can say a plot of land that is as big as this campus. Yes, you can manage it. But you can't say, for example, a whole local government, because a whole subset of a local government, you need to apply manure and things like that. Who are those that will apply the manure? So how do you compromise the conflict between the manure production that is emitting methane with what you are attempting to apply? So probably you need to look inward to look at the product that can be apply at scale that's environmentally friendly as well. Okay? Good. Yes, Bernard.
It says there's not been any process, any research on that particular locality.
Yes.
Probably that's trying to working best to look for literature materials in that not safe. But that should not be the last statement that there is nothing. You said probably there might be research that is not seen, but this one, that research can be updated to meet the contemporary challenges of self and other stuff. But that can back up to that.
And then maybe the last one, this is for you, and probably for you. When we're doing PowerPoint presentation, even when we say bullet points, go to the first 2-3 slides or thereabouts. Where you are making, no, just go back. These are bullets, they are okay. But go back. Yeah, no. Come back to there. Yeah, for example. You see, you are making context. So you should be ready with a storytelling that will flow by the time you see the drawing, it's all dynamics. To flow it in such a way that you are creating the research gap. But you just say, Yeah, there is soil dynamic, there's vulnerability, and you even skip the meeting and then move on. Couldn't provide a story. So please be careful, even when you know that you are, if you know you can't provide a story around this, better write one single line that will give you a picture of what to say. Is that clear? Thank you. Yes, we can go back to number 2, please. Number 2, do you have the slide there? No, do you have it already there? Okay, then hold it. Let's exhaust those one we have. Number 2? Yeah, number 2 is combating water scarcity for sustainable development in Kano metropolis. Am I right? Okay, I have the paper as well. Your time starts now, please. It's who are those making noise on this corner?
Water scarcity refers to a situation where the demand for water exceeds its supply, when the quality of available water limits its availability. Water scarcity has profound implications for human survival, agricultural productivity, industrial development, and environmental sustainability, making it a critical subject of study globally. Globally, water scarcity affects over 2 billion people annually. Projections indicate an increase due to population growth, climate change, and unsustainable water resources. In Africa, water scarcity is a pervasive challenge, with nearly 40% of the population lacking access to safe and clean water. Next slide. In Nigeria, water scarcity is both rural and urban concern, despite the country's substantial freshwater resources. Factors such as pollution, inefficient water management, and rapid urbanization have heightened the problem. Kano State, the economic hub of northern Nigeria, exemplifies the water scarcity crisis, particularly in urbanized areas. Rapid population growth, industrial expansion, and climate variability have strained the water supply system. This study aims to investigate the issue of water scarcity and its implication for sustainable development in metropolis. The research also further explores the key challenges residents face in accessing clean water and their willingness to embrace water. The research used both primary and secondary type of data. The primary data was sourced from field observation and questionnaire, while the secondary data was sourced from previous works and other publication of the study. All households in Kano metropolis serve as the population for this study. The sampling technique was stratified sampling and convenience sampling. The data collection techniques that was used include questionnaires and field observation, data analysis and presentation. The results that was, the data that was collected from the result was analyzed using descriptive statistics such as tables, bar charts, and pie charts. So these are some of the pages of the results of the study. Please continue. Next, this is the chart for challenging face in accessing drinking water. Next. So this is the discussion of the findings. From the finding of the research, it indicates that water access in the study area is heavily reliant on informal sources, with a majority depending on water vendors and utilizing borers. The minimal use of public tap and hand-dug wells shows the limited availability of formal water infrastructure. This dependence on vendors and borers suggests a lack of adequate public water facilities, which likely forces residents to turn to less reliable and potentially costlier alternatives. Also, it was learned from the research that the inconsistent water supply and high water costs are the most significant challenges faced by the respondents in the study area. 221 respondents citing inconsistent supply. And 1 and 2 mentioning the high cost of water. It is clear that these issues undermine residents' ability to reliably access clean water. This results imply that addressing water supply reliability and reducing costs should be prioritized to improve water access issues to ensure a sustainable water system for the community. Next. In addition, the health implications of poor water quality are highlighted, with 2% of respondents experiencing occasional or frequent water quality related health issues. This significant proportion shows the negative impact of inadequate water quality on public health, pointing to an urgent need for measures to improve water treatment quality and quality monitoring. It was also understood from the research that over 90% of respondents.
Thank you very much. Interesting. Can you summarize?
So based on the findings of this research, it has been learned that most people or households in Kano metropolis, they are suffering from inadequate water supply. As it can be seen from the results, a large number of those households, they just mainly rely on informal sources of water, like water vendors and others. And finally, this also affects the health or the sanitation of the household. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Question, please? Yes, Rata?
How do you relate the effect of industrial use of water on the availability of
Second?
Yeah, I think this is in making, if you look at the first slide, the correction, some of the statements made were not backed up to the reference. It's very big to do this. It's mostly because of good resources of the
You have statistics. Okay, good. Next. Bob?
Now, what are the very important? Another important question, the most big dissertation to me. And the other one I would like to take it out to your study population is the entire country. And then you need satisfied and convenient. I want to understand those
Implications of those things.
If someone will permit us, those things, how do you use those two methods to determine the country?
Okay. That was a third question for the entire population, even when I see 390. Yes, Bonnet.
What is the right and best answer? What is the right and what is the best answer? What is the best?
No level.
No,
Yeah. No level. Okay, fine. Sorry, I'll pose the dangerous question to you. Where is the geography in the world? Sorry, where is the geography in the world? Who are those affected? Where are they?
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. I think I will start from the first observation, the whole question. I think you asked me the link, is it the link?
Yeah, just the relation. You said much of this work is muchly concentrating on domestic water supply system. Now, when you put on the larger picture, especially for example when you come to the discussion, how does, for example, industrial water pollution and things like that affect access to water?
So, as we all know, Kano metropolis is one of the most urban hub in northern Nigeria. So definitely there are many industries in the area, but the scope of this study is just mainly on the household, the challenges we faced, and so on and so forth. So I think that link or the relationship between the industries and the house and the water sources should be as a gap. Yes. So this research does not look at that. That is one. Two.
If you're focusing just on household, you should refer it to the church. This is not the so that exactly is not the focus. Most everything is.
Prof, let me bail him out so that we save time. Knowing fully how the landscape works, even when we reflect household, I think what you should go back for the quality on this work is this. The metropolis is mixed. However, nothing stops you from bringing in this issue of industrial waste as one key factor that affects even underground water extraction. In some certain quarters, even the household find it difficult to extract groundwater because the water is polluted by industrial water. So those are some of the key challenges that they face. And given the fact that you have amplified the healthcare challenges, it will be necessary to bring this one up during the discussion session of the paper itself. Now, when you say the whole canon is this, I think Prof and Bernard are hammering on that. And I saw in the paper you have 390 as your sampling. And in one of the table, mistakenly, instead of saying the number of households or the number of samples you selected, you mistakenly said the number of questionnaires. So how many questionnaires did you administer? 390 questionnaires or 390 respondents. One questionnaire will be this that you have administered. So you administer 390 households. Aha. Because when you say questionnaires, it means that you have one questionnaire with different questions, another questionnaire with different questions, 390 of that. That's a big data. So, but you have one single questionnaire, but administer to 390 questions. So that's, I think, we need to prepare on that. Next. Okay. Yeah, please answer some of them. Yes.
There is a lacuna. A very small gap in your sampling procedure.
Yes.
Because you take Kaduna Metropolis. I mean, you know kind of very well.
No.
I think the input that you have seen the localities.
No, the criteria for this, for that is what Prof is looking for, and how you reconcile the statistical tools or the analytical tools used based on the sampling techniques. Understanding fully when you are dealing with a parametric and non-parametric, the whole thing starts from the sampling technique. If they are not corresponding, then the analytics will be somehow one way or another. And then you give us frequency table. The simplest for this level will have been a cross tabulation, so that we can see factorials. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, good. Next. Yes, we are number 5 now. Answering the question.
Yes, the sampling method.
So, I think, even when I attempted to cover you, please.
Let me just explain. Because if you take our time, if you are looking at population, you don't remember households in Kano, in the country. If your questionnaire was directed at council, you know that's a different thing. You know how to interact with the response. Now, how did you come up with the number 390 percent? It is very important. And also you should answer that.
Yes.
Go and resolve because it's quite large. It's very, very large. And how did you stratify either the household, the data, or whatever? Is it by split, by contract, or by whatever? then what brought in the convenience standpoint? Forget thinking as purposive standpoint. What brought that one in? At what level did you have to use that kind of standpoint method? Maybe there are some peculiarity that you want to address. That's when you use that kind of standpoint method. That's what I to talk about that. You need so much, and then I want you to go and resolve this.
So while resolving this, understand that even when you are dealing with household, there is what they call locality listing population commission.
Exactly.
Are you using that to support your work? That's another lesson for you, please. Okay, next presenter, please. That should be a review, go. That's number 5. Number 5, go.
5.
Okay, 5. Okay, thank you.
Chairman, sir, this is a paper sent to me.
So we'll give you comment on their behalf, so you don't need to respond. I think that's understandable.
Please, I want to say something.
Yes.
As a researcher and photographer, this paper is really
Don't worry, just
doesn't have
present.
the attribute of a
Just
theoretical
present, we'll give you feedback for
paper, so
them.
that photographers will know in our presentation of theoretical work papers,
Okay.
there needs to be more of the expectation. Okay, this is a review of prospects and challenges of urban farming in Nigeria by Sonny. He said the population of the city is expanding quickly on a global scale, and that Nigeria, the world population is projected to be about 65% and is increasing in the worldwide. And it will continue to increase by 2050. However, the pace of this organization varies across regions, and the world population growth is expected to occur in sub-Saharan Africa, including Nigeria, where cities are projected to increase at an annual rate of about 1.84%. And Nigeria's total population is predicted to double by 2037, with an approximately yearly growth rate of 4.2% increase, and that the increase in population of urban farming requires an increase in the food production effort of cities, of which urban farming is a strategy. Next slide. And that urban farming, urban agriculture is the practice of growing and cultivating of good food in urban areas, like fruit, vegetables, raising animals like chicken, bees, goat, fish, and there are a lot of innovations that should be used today to practice urban farming. This includes hydroponics, aeroponics, or vertical farming to maximize grazing efficiency. And that forms of urban farming should include small-scale backyard gardens and large-scale commercial operations. And that these are the major types of urban farming. We have market gardening, compound and yard farming, subsistence farming, open land, restricted surrounding land farming, expanded commercial farming. The review is all about Nigeria. Look for literatures where urban farming studies of urban farming and make the review. They made the review. Challenges of urban farming in Nigeria. I said that there are a lot of challenges in farming, such as limited access to productive factors, inadequate government policy, and the absence of land and tenure insecurity. That also farmers are also hampered by factors like fertilizer, clean water, capital, and knowledge. That the tenure system in Nigeria is surrounded by urban farming, available land space is a barrier. And that several studies have indicated that labor shortages, marketing, economic, and environmental issues constitute challenges to urban farming in Nigeria. The studies have removed them here. For more competitive land use encroaching on rural lands. And finally, the same flooding, shortage of water, erosion, social crisis, deforestation, marketing problem, pests and diseases, low technology, insufficient training, tech and proposition, areas and society are some of these problems, challenges facing agricultural farmers in the urban areas of Nigeria. Next slide. Conclusion. They say urban farming in Nigeria has a lot of prospects and challenges. It enhances increased access to fresh produce and improve food security, generate employment opportunities, encourage stages of planting, harvesting, processing, and distribution. And they also generate income from residents contribute to environmental sustainable and climate resilience. And that finally, urban farming also faces challenges related to land and irrigation access. pests and diseases, financial constraint, hygiene problems, nutrition, low technology, seasonality, and problem recommendation. They recommended that there is need for public sector support in urban farming in Nigeria, and that government at all levels in the country should allocate more land for farming in urban areas if the lands are here. There should be stakeholder engagement in urban agriculture. And everybody, not all of us, are living in urban areas, and living in our house. And there are provisions for that. And that there should be provision of credit facilities to farmers in urban areas. And finally, that implementing circular agri-food technologies, dry farming, and water harvesting should be encouraged by government at every level of government, local, state, and national.
Okay, thank you. Right on time. Good. Well, I thank you very much for attempting to summarize. Yes. So this is a paper from colleagues. They were reviewing challenges of urban farming in Nigeria. And they structured it in such a way that we are looking at the prospects, the challenges, and then they were able to provide some few recommendations. Comment, please. Comments, please. Yeah. Okay. Dogara. Greenhouse or screen house? Bernard, if you start answering, you answer all. Because we will crucify you.
To understand it, they need to be there. Actually, I want to say that.
No, just to doubt of them. Just to save us the time. Because if you didn't use your professorial something, they can't answer for some. Any other question, please? Yeah.
I think this is a review.
Yeah, it's a review.
Preparing with the expectation is that sometimes it's advisable. We need to know where at the database that involves information. How many papers are going on? Then make it for us. We need to see it and empirical reviews that we are doing. So let's play with it so that we can know the graph that is extracted from those papers. Those are the things. Just one of them.
Sorry, I want to
Bernard, I'm showing you.
This is the defense.
I'm showing you.
sorry, sir.
You said it does not conform. So it means already you are biased. So you have your own
For
comment.
his question, because it was not PowerPoint, it was not voluminous, it was copy and paste. So I removed
Bernard,
just
I met you this morning doing all the dirty work this morning. So I don't want you to answer, but give them our feedback. Yes.
One little condition is that
Yes.
the paper quoted so many angles of other research, but there is no way reading the work that the paper acknowledges research.
Yes. Yes, please.
If I may chip in, in a review paper, it should be, when you are reviewing, you have to, because you are reviewing other people's work, so you want to see the method, which method do they apply, which you want to look at the gap from the method people apply, and also from that, when you look at the method, then you also look at what are the results that are the findings of the previous studies. Then you want to now match all these previous stories to see actually what is their findings. When you now see, you now make your own comment.
Any other final one? Prof? Okay. Young comments. Okay, fine. I'm glad. So I think you've had the feeling of the house that the much of what is expected, which you can contribute with your own personal comments, is that yes, there are some level of standards required for a review, and the review are targeted. There is a need for a method to understand what type of review are they doing, a systematic data analysis of the geographic, what type of review are they doing, and then they need to provide context, the conceptual framework, the theoretical, the methodological approach that they have seen others use in looking at this, and then what are the critical synthesis in terms of the findings that are emerged. And then the discussion points that will give back to the prospects and challenges of that. And then what are the new gaps that they have seen that people can venture in. And that, I think, is the prospect where we see as a reach. And then is it a market-oriented kind of review, or is it a research-focused kind of review? For example, if they're looking at market-oriented, are they establishing a gap in such a way that, yes, there is a prospect business pathway for people to venture into this, or is a research gap when they are looking at it from the perspective that there are certain methodology that people, or certain types of technologies that people need to adopt that is not being adopted? Those are the challenges. It depends on the pathway. That's maybe something that we can make reflection of today. Thank you very much. Number 5. Number 6, sorry. When you come in, because it's called left. That's rapporteur and number 6.
No, it's 7.
No, look at number 6. Can you put it on? Chukudi, what's the problem?
I'm trying to put it on the slide.
Put it, what do you call it? Full fit to width. Okay. Your battery is off. You're off the battery.
Good afternoon, all.
Able to catch it.
Okay. Yes, the paper I think is not put in some of the services special to Ghana and
Chukudi, I have your paper here. Can you send a soft copy to them, please?
I will send it. Next slide. So the North African monsoon or simply African monsoon system significantly influences the regional weather pattern, especially in the West Africa.
And this monsoon circulation is closely linked to Sahel precipitation variability, and several studies have postulated. Then this Sahel exhibits strong interannual data variability patterns linked to extreme events such as severe drought or devastating floods. So this has had profound impact on several sectors of the economy, such as agriculture, water resources, and water. Next slide. So this Sahel precipitation variability is actually caused by a mix of slow ocean-mediated processes and fast direct atmospheric processes. Now, the ocean-mediated Sahel precipitation depends on the balance of responses to the anomalies in the sea surface temperatures of the Atlantic, Pacific, as well as the Indian Ocean. Several studies have also postulated about this. So, despite the significant efforts to understand Sahel precipitation variability, which is the leading mode of precipitation variability in Northern Africa, this study decomposes the mixed state of precipitation in order to understand the evolution of Sahel precipitation and the associated atmospheric circulation anomalies using the season-reliant empirical orthogonal control method. Next slide. The materials and method we use rigid data sets from the climate research units as well as from the 5. So some of the variables that we consider is monthly precipitation, velocity, vertically integrated moisture divergence, as well as horizontal winds at different pressure levels. Then we calculated for the velocity potential as well as the divergent winds using centered Philip difference method. Next slide. So we employed the seasonal reliance empirical orthogonal function analysis, which is more effective than the classical UF analysis. We also use composite analysis. Then in the composite analysis, we use plus, that is one standard deviation plus or minus one standard deviation to categorize our extreme wet and dry events, which we also looked at. We use not rule to categorize the modes that are significantly divergent from each other. Then we also looked at use two sample features to look for areas of significant composite difference. Next slide. So this is the mean state of precipitation over Northern Africa from the month of June to November, as you can see. Next slide. But when you look at the variability modes now, this is the two leading modes. The first one is the Sahel mode, often referred to as the Sahel mode, while the second one is for the Vinicos mode, that is the second leading mode, as you can see. So during the Sahel mode, you tend to have more of an extreme positive phase, extreme wet events over areas upwards of 10 degrees north. And it is within this particular period that you tend to experience most of the extreme flood events that occur within most parts of West Africa. While the Sahel area is suffering from excess rainfall, the Vinicos mode is suffering from deficit in rainfall. It's just like the oscillation pattern. Next slide. So this is the time series expansion coefficient of this particular, the leading mode, which is the Sahel mode, as you can see, showing the interannual pattern. In recent times, starting from 2005, you can see that the precipitation mode has been leaning towards positive phase. Next slide. So we try to look at the main issues associated with this Sahel precipitation variability. Figures A to C is showing for the dominant sea surface temperature areas. Where you have blue, that is why you tend to have cold ocean sea surface state. Where you have red is where you have positive states, and the dots signifies areas of significant interconnections. Then the second one is showing where we look at the vertical integrated moisture divergence to show the areas of sources of some of the moisture that come to West Africa and where they fall. The red spot shows the major sources of this water. Good. Thank you. Summary. Go back. Go next. Next. So we said the temporal pattern aligns with historical records of severe droughts in the Sahel. Then since 2005, most parts of Sahel have been in the positive phase. So what it means is that we should all prepare for more extreme rainy season events in the form of excess rainfall in the coming period. Then the obtained pattern of velocity potential and divergent wind shows that the water circulation is actually what is moderating the influence of these exchange processes. that gives rise to this extreme within the area. The weaker the velocity potential in the lower atmosphere, it gets less intense for significant water circulation. That's like this. So anticipating dry years enables water conservation. So if you have anything to do with water, please anticipate that in the coming years we'll still experience some of the dry years. Now will definitely come because it's more like an oscillation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Chukudi has presented the oscillation mode of the Sahel precipitation. We have seen that, and now it's time for questions. Questions? Yeah? Yeah, a minute.
We also said that we need to prepare
Yeah.
Carol is experiencing what
More.
high predicting what getting variability and the economy. So we are already experiencing it. But the study actually is what so even include 2015. Why did you stop at 2015?
Okay. As at the time, this analysis, the last from 1950 to 2020 was it has also been this computer. Very important of this conference. I didn't bring it up. But the truth is that mostly Sahel mode is actually the so because it is a positive phase, there is bound to be more of above average rainfall within the Sahel region during this period. Anytime it passes to this negative phase, we start having below normal rainfall in most part of the Sahel during the rainy season. That is the key message.
Okay, fine.
Shukuru, your work is very interesting. But I want to start from one point. The data says to me, how do you appreciate it? Don't answer it. Just tell us how you're feeling and the durability. Secondly, the solution is a cyclic process. Which have been done. You can trace it to probably several years back. You know that the current is happening, very dry, unusual, and very. Now, based on the contemporary climatic issues that we have to do with climate change, is there any relationship between what is happening now and the current climatic situation of this now, based on global warming and the marginal increase in the general temperature? But this is what we effectively have you noticed any slight changes based on the temporal pattern we have drawn? Very slight changes in occurring, particularly the precipitation pattern of this region and taking into cognizance the location of the region, showing the need that.
Okay, thank you. Any question? Gentlemen, are you gobbling the question or you are busy doing something else? Okay, fine. Chukudi, this is quite interesting for me. Specifically looking at the jazz months. Now, if we're looking at the jazz months, what we have noticed is that even within the jazz months, there's a shift now that the total amount of rainfall, the expected amount of rainfall, is moving towards August, September, and towards October. That shift in itself, were there possibility that you have captured them in the course of analysis? And I think it would be nice for policy implication for you to walk back. Is it possible that we start our analysis, for example, in 1920, something like that, or 1900, so we can see the full picture at what stage is the oscillation occurring? What are the mean amount of years that the pattern occur? And then what are the peak period of that? Because I knew that I just graduated a student where we understand, yes, there's the shift in the judgment, but even when we are expecting oscillation of the increase in precipitation in the Sahel, but there is concurrent flood and increase in dry spell occurring in one season. And so that takes us to issues with monitoring flash flood, flash droughts, even within that. And what will be the implication on that on the agricultural system? So here we're looking at the total amount of precipitation, but when we're looking at the distribution of the precipitation within the growing season, we see another pattern altogether emerging as a key factor. And so what would be the recommendation coming out of this? Concurrently looking at water harvesting as a strategy, or perhaps irrigation as a strategy. What do you make up of this? Especially from the perspective that we are looking at it from the risks and disaster perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, thank you for all the comments. For the data sources, we have several available data sets. The only challenge was matter the technique to be able to access them. It's not something you just can do. It's not in the time to do. The average format is complex here. So we have to be able to analyze this. And there are several of them available, freely available.
Yeah, but the area analysis data, what are the challenges?
So they have some challenges when it comes to reanalysis because of the conflict. Most of the data points, especially within the less developed world, we tend to have less data coverage in terms of the spatial distribution as well as the age. So because of that, we tend to have more reliable data sets within the northern consistent compared to the tropical region. But nevertheless, we work with what we have. Then we talked about the climate change impact. One thing climate change does is that it exacerbates, it either increases or dampens the background state of how the climate system works. So what I've presented is the background state of what the climate system works. But recently, we observed that depending on the ocean state, the prevailing ocean state, for instance, the Gulf of Guinea, in recent times it has been warming.
Yes.
Now because the sea surface temperature has been warming, the teleconnection pattern is in such a way that if we have high sea surface temperature during this gas month over the Gulf of Guinea coast will have more rainfall. But because it has been warming, the relationship with the Sahel is actually impasse. So the Sahel region now is not having more of that rainfall, while the Gulf of Guinea is having less rainfall. Now the same thing is applicable when such pattern is observed in the Pacific Ocean, where we have the major mode, which is called the ENSO. So when ENSO is in a positive phase, we tend to have drought-related less below average rainfall within most part of the Sahel region. When it is in the negative phase, we tend to have more rainfall. So what happens now is that because of global warming, if it is in the positive phase, we will be having what? More of a below average rainfall. When we are supposed to have what? Normal or the mistake, normal above average rainfall. So global warming is actually making some of these well-known climate modes very complicated. And that is why most times when you look at the seasonal climate prediction forecast, their reliability score has actually dropped in recent time. So that was for constant monitoring and collecting release to properly guide the population who are depending on the climate system as a whole for their source of livelihood. Then, if you can go to the last slide, second to the last slide, I talked about this shift. Okay, I talked about August and September in particular have higher tendency of large-scale floods because of this shift. That is why if you notice most of the flooding that is occurring in September is now within the month of September and sometimes within October, but our study did not cover October because of this shift in seasonal rainfall pattern. It is actually, it has been observed And we have some significant areas where you don't have a hotspot over West Africa, but in Nigeria, the southwestern Nigeria and coastal region, they tend to have. So the key thing is that we call for the need for proactive and informed climate adaptation strategies based on the recent updates, because most of our rural people tend to dwell more on the new state of this pattern of that or tenure. They tell you January, June, July, August, May, the native crisis is that sometimes it disappears in August, June, July, August. So it calls for constant updating of information.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good. Next presenter, number 7. How are we doing with time? Not too bad? Okay, good. Yes. Women in green.
Good afternoon. Standing on esteemed protocols, let's present a paper on assessing environmental sustainability of the growth environment and climate effects. Next slide, please. This paper will look at how.
Sorry, do I have the laptop? Go ahead, go ahead. Okay.
Next slide. Now, looking at the context of environmental sustainability, we are not, in this slide, we are looking at basic things we are thinking about effects affecting environmental sustainability. So we look at urbanization and industrialization, how they will interlock. While urbanization is characterized by demographic and social growth, infrastructural development, as well as environmental impacts, industrialization comes together with urbanization, technological innovation, rapid urban growth, and improved infrastructures along with economic growth. Now, these two come together are the ones that are gradually affecting the environment, environmental sustainability and growth. Next slide. Now, sustainability comes as a global concept to ensure that while we are exploring the environment, we still have resources that we need in the future needs. Environmental sustainability, as highlighted by the SDG goals, it's pillars. The economy, the environment, social and economic pillars. The environmental pillar looks at how we can reduce negative environmental impact. The social pillar looks at how we can have equal opportunity for growth and social cohesion. Meanwhile, the economic pillar looks at how we can balance both economic growth and the social environmental impact while exploring the environmental resources. Next slide. Now, for this study, we are looking at sustainability of the environment, basically looking at the built environment. Now, while environmental sustainability, as I mentioned earlier, is looking at how exploring environmental resources can be balanced so that future generations can use. Now, one of the key components of environmental sustainability is the built environment. Man, of course, while developing, using urbanization and industrialization, has to look at how he makes life livable for himself. Now, to make life livable for man, look at 3 pillars of quality indicators for the built environment: the housing, infrastructure, and aesthetics. Now, the housing, we're not just looking at the residential, the industrial houses that we built. Then the infrastructure, we're looking at the road, the water facilities, and the waste management system. While the aesthetics is looking at the green and open spaces of the built environment. Next slide, please. This is the study area of Kano Metropolis where we are working on. It is an research center of Kano State, and this is what we are doing. Next slide, please. Next. Research methodology. Now, the survey approach, we look at Delphi method. It is a method that ensures that we cut across different disciplines. Why? Because the built environment is a multidisciplinary concept of different disciplines. So we look at for the survey, we use 2 rounds a day. Our sampling technique was proposing. Why? Because we are looking at certain disciplines that affect the built environment. Then for data collection, we use questionnaires which is distributed in Fluent, and these questionnaires are rated in 5-point scale, and then the responses we analyze to get consensus. This is the criteria we use for consensus criteria. Next slide, results. By and large, we look at the metropolis and we look at housing. This result shows that there is a poor urban planning and unregulated growth in Kano metropolis. Then next, infrastructure. We saw that there is poor road network, there is poor parking space and pedestrian walkways, inadequate water distribution and waste management system, which results in urban flooding and disease outbreaks and reduced livability. Then for aesthetics, next slide, we saw that urban green spaces have disappeared over time, which has resulted in having few recreation and public parks. And then because of that, there's poor ventilation, especially even when we look at how we build our houses with no spaces, and then being the fact that our green spaces and open spaces have disappeared. Now, by and large, this has resulted in biodiversity loss and microclimatification within the Kano metropolis. Next slide. In conclusion, Kano metropolis is experiencing rapid urban growth, which is unchecked.
You can see a part of London in Kano. You can see a part of Paris in Kano. You can see everything you are talking about. But the way we connected it is
As if it's a single entity. No variability.
there are places where you have one side, you have light, if you have any.
And that's taking me to the dangerous question I always ask. I've not seen the geography in the world. No matter, I've not seen geography in the world. Of course, I know you are coming from environmental management, but we want to see disparity of where these things are happening. And then the Delphi method that you are saying is actually a method where when you have a multidisciplinary activity, you bring on board experts for different motivations. Because now the audience that will be consuming this work are geographers. And so geographers will want to see their tool operating. And for even policy analysis, we want to see those variabilities. What happened, for example, in Nasarawa, okay, where everything is intact, and we say this is good. Even within Nasarawa, where, for example, another area, you have this densification of the plots. You have a single plot that was maybe before about 1,000 square meter or 3,000 square meter, but it's now being partitioned into multiple facets, and that aesthetics is being lost. Can you pinpoint those locations? Where are the shakers? Where are the China in, for example, in Gogo? Where? So we want to see those things coming out, so that policy can target them. You understand? And we want to see the independent layers. How have you seen the independent layers? For example, when you are looking at the infrastructure, what happened to waste management system? What happened to water? What happened to this? What happened to that? We want to see those things. And then how do you combine all these to give an overall picture of what is happening now? That, I think, is something that we will be happy if you can do. And I'm sure Prof will be happy to see their results as well, as an entity from the policy cycle. That I promise you. Thank you very much. You refuse to? Okay, fine. Did you put it in the context of your introduction that this is an adjourning something from? No, it's not clear. I've read this. Even when it was cited, it wasn't explicitly saying that this was an offshoot of this. Okay. It's okay. Thank you. By my time, it is 1:30. 34. How many do we have left? We have 5 left. Are we able to take the 5 and then bake? And then so that the next set comes in. Okay, we'll quickly take the next 5. Thank you very much. Next paper, please. Who is next? Wow. Slanting presentation. Good. Prof, thank you, sir. This one has no owner. The next slide. This one has no owner. Green growth and renewable energy opportunities for climate mitigation. Where? A global perspective. Okay. Let's listen to the global perspective from who is that?
Next slide.
Okay.
The chairman and the other professors.
Okay, good.
Hello?
Next. Climate change is a social problem globally, and it was made by you. And international bodies and the government effort have been on how that will remove the hotel and moving the regions that Nigeria has not been left behind. And this has a fingerprint on the day by day temperature increase and melting of the ice caps and rising of the water body. So, and that continue, we talked about that this challenge brought about the necessity of transiting to renewable energy. And in renewable energy, we talked about green growth. Green growth simply means the idea of venting into national and economic development without leaving degradation on the physical environment. That's the political aspect. And then the renewable energy, we talk. Let's continue. Yes, I have. So the basic need. Let's continue, please, with research statement. Okay. So the aim of this research, or better still, the problem is targeted at looking, since there is this global challenge of climate change. There has been international effort talked about the Montreal Protocol in Canada, and then the Kyoto Protocol in Japan, and then it comes down to the Kigali's agreement, and then the Paris agreement. Let's continue. Okay, so the first place. But let's go back. But the aim of this is, despite the challenge of global warming and how to mitigate, little emphasis has been made on encouraging people and nations to venture into renewable energy as a sole, the technology to mitigate this global climate challenge. Let's move it. So these are some of the aims. One is to assess cardinally the correlation between renewable energy capacity and carbon emission reduction, and secondly, to evaluate the relationship between renewable energy, the investment, and then also, the green growth, and also the GDP growth rate in adopting nations, and also to assess the implementation policy. Let's continue, please. Okay, methodology. Go back. And these are this study adopt the mixed method methodology. Where the quantitative data were obtained from international repositories, and then that covers the carbon emission reductions, production, and then the renewable energy capacity, GDP growth, and then the renewable energy investment of the 2010, the 2024. And then we also try to get this also adapt data used in
studying the analysis for statistical tools for testing correlation. And let's go continue. So with this relation between renewable energy and carbon emission reduction, we want to see how renewable energy can result to reducing carbon emission, and the correlation has been run. These are some of the results. They show significantly, the statistically significant, significantly correlated, and then negatively correlated. Let's continue to the next. And this is the continuation of the other table one. This correlation ranges from moderately weak and also the extremely strong correlation. We see that of Nigeria, is 0.126, and then Germany is 0.995.
You can summarize.
Okay, and then that continues, but generally this suggests that the renewable energy effort growing is not it's not at the same pace in all the countries of the world. That giving back to the effort putting into venturing or translating or transiting to renewable energy. Let's take the next slide. The next slide.
Now the next slide.
Please just go to the result and go to the result. Because of timing, we see that Germany is near perfect correlation. But in these two studies, the country that shows a model energy transition model is Costa Rica, because those countries were adopted in the aspect of developed bloc, that is the global north. We have Germany, we have China, we have Denmark, we have Sweden. And then in the aspect of the global south, we have Nigeria, we have Canada, we have Morocco, we have Democratic Republic of Congo, we have India.
So in summary, what is?
So in summary, this research, the novelty behind the research, simply point out that as against the general perception that transiting to renewable energy or deploying resources to renewable energy means automatically to cutting down on carbon emission. But this research was able to spot out that alone in itself is not enough to curtail or reduce carbon emission until that has to be, the renewable energy strategies policy has to be integrated with the national, national planning policy to be able to make such as, putting in the regulatory and the pricing, carbon pricing, and then, total decoupling and decommissioning of fossil energy base because we see time will not permit, because in Ghana, they have invested much in renewable energy, but the carbon is still high, and the reason being they are running the two simultaneously, and that wouldn't leave a significant impact in reducing the carbon emission. In the case of Nigeria, the Nigeria invests only 24% of renewable energy penetration, but they emit carbon emissions of about 126. So you cannot see the disparity. Despite the effort made by Nigerian government, we have not decoupled totally from the fossil energy sources, but we're running the two simultaneously. So that will give a significant impact as to reducing the carbon emission, which has been the sole aim of this research. How renewable energy will be able to translate into reducing carbon emission.
Thank you very much. Yeah. We have heard from Asa, Ayuba, am I right? Yes. Okay, fine. So any comments? Yeah, people.
Thank you, Pastor. My first comment has to be okay. So there is no head.
They are heading to know.
Can you go back?
have this one. Have this one. That. Two of them are having two. The one is the relation to this one. To the back.
Go back.
This one. Maybe one.
So it's seeking to know that, because I think the correlation between renewable energy investment and GDP is now growing.
So that is one. Then, can you explain briefly the source of the data? Because at some point you mentioned that countries, it seems as if we have a lot of countries.
Okay, okay.
What is the source of data? How many countries did you consider and the rationale for selecting them? Then the last one is which of the renewable energy sources in particular did you analyze? Because I have a lot of renewable energy sources.
So the sources of the data, as I was watching because of timing, I was able to it's quickly to the data repositories like the World Bank. We're able to extract data from the World Bank.
Which type of data do you extract?
The type of data I extract is that of carbon, electricity, annual electricity production. One.
Production, electricity production.
One. And then renewable energy capacity of each of the countries that are stated. And then how does renewable energy translate into augmenting the national GDP? The GDP also.
Is that the data or an analysis that yields the data?
So the data I said is the annual electricity production, what energy capacity, and then national GDP, and then also the renewable energy investment. Those are the data.
Okay, this 4 data set, for how many countries?
For altogether in 12 countries.
12 countries.
Yes.
Were there rationale?
Yes, they were rationale to 2 blocks. The global north covers China, Germany, USA, Sweden, and Denmark.
That's 5 countries already.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
For
Then the second block.
The second block covers Nigeria, which is ours, Ghana, Morocco, the Republic of Congo. We have Costa Rica, and then we have I mentioned Morocco, and then they were up to 7.
Okay.
Actually,
So you have about 7 on this block.
yes, sir.
And then 5 on the other block.
And then the rationale behind selecting them was actually not, because unlike somebody earlier mentioned, the idea of, because the research cover from 2010 is still to the current that the last year, I mean to say. So, and then we couldn't go far beyond because
It's not a problem.
Okay, sir.
Because we have done scoping.
Yes, sir.
But we are looking out for the rationale.
The rationale was able to be careful, on the countries that, that make significant effort in transiting from, the carbon-based energy to renewable energy. So those were the
So in essence, what are you trying to prove?
yes.
What are you trying to prove?
What I'm trying to prove is to see, since there is a global challenge of climate change which result to global warming, there's a need to abate the situation. And the paper aimed at ascertaining transiting to renewable energy will reduce carbon emission.
Did your research person focus on what happened? Is it a single directional or multi-directional? For example, does the investments and all the data set you are saying, does it translate directly to reduction in carbon emission or it doesn't?
That's exactly what I was trying to mention, the algorithm behind the research. They does not translate directly because that comes back to the individual national effort in investing in renewable energy, one. And there's a national, that I said that I'm going to be created. There's a general perception within the academic discourse that investment in renewable energy automatically warrant, reduction in carbon.
You are pointing to where my question will be going to. Now, given this pathway that you're taking, will you think that this title of the paper will remain? the title of the paper, will it remain like this? I've gone through the introduction, and the introduction is moving towards what he's saying. Okay, and then the title is saying Green Growth and Renewable Energy Opportunities for Climate Mitigation. So, and you are trying to prove that this investment or this transition does not happen automatically. It doesn't mean it will happen. So there is that discourse needs to be understood well. That the fact that you have set your pathway towards transiting, moving in the direction of renewable energy, it doesn't actually translate to reduction in carbon emissions.
It does, but not an instant reflection. Has a long.
If it doesn't, I think there's something that I'm not seeing in the title.
Some of the results shows not immediate economy return and then carbon cutting down, but some country does. Example like Costa Rica, like Denmark and Germany shows a significant reduction of carbon. When the other countries analyze, that implies a long time impact in the carbon.
Okay.
When you talk about all these issues, there are global perspectives. That will have to be very, very clear. The first question we are going to ask is whether this is an empirical study or a review work.
There is an empirical study.
Okay. If it's empirical, you do the analysis yourself or you extracted it from literature. These are the questions that I want to start with. Because we don't have much time, that's why I'm not just talking.
Yeah, sorry, Prof. He did some of the analysis himself, but that notwithstanding, I'm worried around situating to say that the energy opportunity and climate mitigation. The title is what I'm worried around, given the introduction as well as the perspective of where he's heading to and where the data is actually pointing at. So I want you to revisit and reconcile between the title of the work and the output of the work itself. Yeah.
It's a very big issue because when you talk about the mitigation, when the investment they are putting in this green growth aspect is not for moderate because they need to change their production processes and all of that before you can see
Yeah.
and industrial companies are not able to do that.
Yeah. And again, even when we are looking at investment, there are two lenses to investment. Now, for the West and the North block, it might be investment at a low cost because they are the production zone. But in our own case, it is an investment plus a profit margin for the other side. So because, for example, Spiro is one of the new emerging companies moving into recycle electrification of bikes, for example. They have their footprint in Nigeria, in Ghana, and then some 3 other East African countries. As at yesterday, they are projected to be one of the global leading companies in the world. But an interview with them yesterday suggests that 75 to 95% of their raw material comes from China. Comes from China. Now, do we say now we are investing here, or we are just a dumping ground for that type of investment? Somebody is actually making the profit out of this. So that economics need to come out clearly, given the fact that yesterday's presentation of the climate justice issue and inequality situated on that pathway, so that we will understand who is playing Munu here. Thank you very much. Yeah.
When you're looking for an statement of the government perspective, I think you should bring in the on 7 and 13.
Yeah, to back up.
To back up. Yeah. Affordable energy and then climate change and impact.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. It's a nice paper. Chairman, or sub-co-chair. Who is the next on the line? Thank you. Number 8, are you ready? Good.
Yeah. Depending on assessing the balance Nigeria is classified as one of the 10 most vulnerable countries to the impact of climate change in the form of natural hazards. The IPCC also reported that Nigerian floods have become a yearly catastrophe, not just an isolated incident. And then Nigeria has experienced major flooding events which have caused a lot of damages in form of economic damages estimated at about 500 billion. And then the National Emergency Management Agency reported that floods between 2012 and 2022 has displaced more than 2.5 million people in Nigeria. And then according to a lot of research, government efforts and also community actions are prioritizing adaptation solutions which are short-term above mitigation strategies which are a long-term solution. Next slide. So looking at the vast expanse of Nigeria, only 3 states were selected based on their high flood occurrence, and then their diverse geographical and socio-economic profile. And there are Lagos states located in the southwest zone, experiencing recurrent overflow, primarily due to rapid and offline urbanization. And then Bayelsa states situated in the Niger Delta region, characterized by a low-lying coastal and marine landscape. And then Jigawa, located in the northwest zone, which is an arid and semi-arid, which has arid and semi-arid climate, and have an inland position. Next. So the study employed mixed method research design, combining geospatial analysis, policy document review, and then qualitative case study analysis. Secondary data were sourced from CHIPS, Landsat, and Anapurna from 2010 to 2023, and then some policy documents were obtained from Federal Ministry of Environment, which were analyzed, and then there is qualitative data collection, structured data to 75 stakeholders across the 3 states. The respondents were selected using composite sampling based on their roles in flood management or past flood experience. GIS was also used to map flood-prone areas, and then the interview scripts were analyzed using semantic coding based on guided by ground and graphs. So, results shows that over the past decade, rainfall across the 3 states shows significant variation, with Bayelsa having the highest mean annual precipitation. And then, regarding the average river discharge for the 3 states, Lagos, Bayelsa recorded the highest peak discharge for the river. Next slide. The flood events that happened from 2010 to 2023, Lagos recorded the highest, Jigawa and Bayelsa recorded the lowest. And then, according to NEMA, recorded displacements and shelters opened across the 3 states. Jigawa reported the highest case of shelters opened during flood events. Next slide. This is a slide showing the effect of floods across the 3 states. Floods affecting schools, Bayelsa recorded the highest, and then when it comes to affecting farmlands or destroying farmlands, Jigawa recorded the highest frequency. Next. This is respondents showing a chart showing the respondents recording more frequent events of floods or more severe. So Lagos recorded having more frequent events, while Jigawa is having more severe effects of flood. Okay? So this is a table showing the relationship between flood frequency and the impact by location across the two states. Next slide. Next. So findings for this current research resonate with other broader literatures, and similarly the urban riverine flooding and coastal flooding recorded indicates that there is upstream dam releases sometimes, and then the situation of channels, and then the factors of unplanned urbanization also affected all the three areas in one way or the other. Next slide. Next. So flooding remains one of the most pervasive environmental challenges in Nigeria, affecting both coastal and urban and inland regions with increasing severity. So without a decisive shift toward integrated flood management, Nigeria will continue to experience reported cycles of displacement, economic loss, and human suffering. So there is a need to balance between adaptation and mitigation strategies so that we can show better public accountability.
Yes. Thank you very much. Questions, please? Yeah, quick one.
Just a recommendation.
Good.
My name is Hamza. It's a very good work, but I think you should look at the terrains that are more prone to flood like Kogi State and Mina, where the riverine areas are. Maybe you can join Kogi, Benue, or the terrain. Thank you.
I'm exceptionally excited that you are here because my comment will come back to you. Good. Go ahead. Next. Any other comment? Yeah, Mata.
Thank you. You said adaptation and mitigation strategies. So I didn't see two being pointed out in one. I didn't see adaptation and mitigation.
People are listening. Yes. Any other? Rob.
Yes.
Good. Good.
Secondly, go to that first map, the one that shows the severity of flood area. That first one.
Rob, you see, you too much. That's why I'm happy he's here. Hey, you come on now. The first smile. Yes, it's good. Half of the country is gone.
If you look at it, you'll find that even Jigawa is not, doesn't have that serious severity. But what I want to add to it, apart from what I've mentioned so far, is why is it that with that level of severity in Jigawa, we find that the effects of flood is always very high. Do you know why?
No, I think it's even
Okay, maybe we should look
be a good listener every time.
So you know that why do we always have that high level of